Week 15. Yeah, it's me, SMA. I'm taking over the video this week because Trill didn't want to do it. But more cool shit happened this week. The playoff picture is starting to get clearer. And now, a moment of silence for those who bet the over on David Montgomery's total rushing yards this year.
I've been saying the NFC West is intense this season. The Rams were able to build off a barn-burning win against the Bills and carried it over to an ugly defensive win in San Francisco. LA sweeps the Niners, and they can smell the playoffs. Sure, okay. I guess the Panthers just ran out of magic. The Cowboys defense just straight dominated this game, which allowed Cooper Rush to look like a decent backup quarterback. Their season somehow survives for now, but Carolina, this is for taking one step forward and 3 steps back. What? You mean to tell me the Chiefs beat an inferior opponent by more than a possession? Remarkable. Browns are still awful, and the Chiefs are somehow still winning. And right on cue, another Mahomes ankle injury. I swear, Houston looks like a first-round exit this season. They rode their defense to win this game, but offensively, still not all there. Luckily, Tua decided to turn the ball over and likely cook their playoff hopes, in addition to allowing someone else to clinch. Usually a toilet bowl implies the lack of quality of the teams, namely offensively. I guess this week, the defense took a break and we got a shootout somehow. Of course, Aaron and Devontae, wait until the season is over and then go back into your Green Bay form. Washington still on fraud alert. The fact they dominated the whole first half, and it still came down to the Saints failing the 2-point conversion, after playing 2 different quarterbacks should be concerning. These next 3 weeks won't be easy. Hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby. It cannot be explained any clearer than that. Lamar Jackson comes off a bye and throws for 5 touchdowns against whatever the fuck this was in New Jersey. Oh wow, who saw this coming? Anyone who doesn't just look at records knows that these teams are nowhere near on the same caliber. Tennessee did show flashes at times, but man does Will Levis know how to stink up a game. And as I figured, the Cardinals came in only a touch better than New England, and that little bit is all they needed. Their faint hope of winning the division stays alive for now. Don't let the final score fool you. Buffalo was in complete control of this game from start to finish. The Bills knock off another Goliath after bouncing back from last week's heartbreak. Jared Goff had a great game too, but those injuries on defense are starting to pile up. Yup, we got Mo picks today. It was ugly for the Broncos early on, and Indy seemed to have them playing to their level. But in the fourth quarter, Denver just took control of the game and won in very convincing fashion. This shouldn't be a hot take, but Tampa Bay should at least be in the conversation for a top 3 team in the NFC. If they weren't injured most of the season, they could be in the mix for that 1 seed, but they start their postseason push by dropping 40 on what was previously a suffocating defense. We knew this would be a grinder. Steelers missing George Pickens couldn't have been more glaring in this game. Pittsburgh's defense did a good job containing Saquon, but Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown made a statement and silenced their critics. As for Pittsburgh, even in a loss, you still proved a lot of us wrong this season. In my heart of hearts, I had a feeling that Green Bay and Seattle were just on 2 completely different tiers. Josh Jacobs and the Packers offense basically sealed the game in the first half. Seattle's winning streak is snapped, and Geno Smith is banged up. Oh yeah, the Vikings played the Bears. The whiteout uniforms are sick, and they sit at 12-2, tied for the NFC North lead, and a playoff berth. Chicago, I will remember the feeling of the early season. But what kind of man would I be if I kept living in the past? Look away. How do we get 2 Monday night games and they were both bad? I don't know, the Falcons beat the Raiders and Desmond Ritter's revenge game was, you guessed it, an actual shit pile. Alright, so 11-5 last week, not too bad. Now before we go into our predictions for week 16, let's take a look and see what the playoff picture looks like at the moment. Everything's pretty much the same for the most part, other than the Rams overtaking the Seahawks for the NFC West lead, but still 3 games left to decide. These teams could all potentially clinch this week. In the 2 Pennsylvania teams' case, they can clinch their division with a win. With Philly playing in Washington, Pittsburgh playing in Baltimore, and then we're also going to have Denver playing in Los Angeles. While these teams could potentially be eliminated this week, basically just don't lose. To start the week off on Thursday Night Football, we have an AFC West matchup with the Broncos taking on the Chargers. Now this is a big game for the both of them. They're both in the playoff hunt and have a chance to clinch if they win this game, or the loser of this game can, if the Colts, Dolphins, and Bengals lose. But they gotta make sure they're playing their best football going into the playoffs. The Chargers have lost 3 of the last 4 games, and their defense that was one of the best in the league just gave up 40 points to Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. For Denver, it started a little bit rocky against the Colts, but they were able to keep up and then took over from there. I still have some questions about the Broncos offense, but I know their defense will be able to limit the offensive output, or I guess what's left of it from the Chargers. But Broncos country, let's ride. Give me Denver winning this one and clinching a playoff spot. Then for our first game on Saturday, we've got the Texans taking on the Chiefs. I think early on in the season, we were expecting this one to be a passing of the torch, so to speak. Everybody was real high on CJ Stroud coming into the season, and I'll admit I was too, to an extent. I didn't go as far as to put him in MVP conversations though. But Stroud is in the midst of a sophomore slump, and having his receivers being banged up all season, and his offensive line providing no protection, isn't doing him any favors. But luckily, their strong suit this season has been on their defense, and they're going to need it against this Chiefs team, who themselves could probably be without Patrick Mahomes. I would still trust Patrick Mahomes on a bad ankle, but if Carson Wentz is able to run that offense with the pieces they have, and under Andy Reid's scheme, I don't see how they couldn't beat the Texans. But Houston still hasn't shown that they can beat a contender yet. Outside of that game against the Bills when Josh Allen's brain fucking broke. Give me the Chiefs winning this one at Arrowhead. Then for our second Saturday game, we got an AFC North rematch. We got the Steelers taking on the Ravens. Now, when these teams matched up in week 11, I basically gave the whole spiel about them already, so I'm not going to repeat all of that. But this is interesting though. This is the game for the Steelers to win the division, but this is also the game that can help the Ravens control their destiny. The last time both these teams played, the Steelers did a pretty good job containing Derrick Henry and minimized explosives from the Ravens offense. While their offense, well, they didn't have any. They kicked 6 field goals and won. This time around though, in Baltimore, especially likely being without George Pickens again and TJ Watt being banged up, I might give this one to the Ravens to split the series. Then to start off our Sunday, we got the Giants taking on the Falcons. Okay, so the only interesting thing about this game is that this is going to be Michael Penix's first NFL start. Now who knows? Maybe he'll be better than what Kirk has been for the last month. But however he looks, he's going up against a very, very bad Giants defense. Give me Michael Penix and the Falcons winning in his debut. Then we got the Cardinals taking on the Panthers. This has trap written all over it. Arizona was the front runner in their division just a month ago, but an ugly skid and a Rams revival later, the Cardinals are now on the outside looking in and basically have to win out and then pray some other things go their way. While the Panthers, there was a good month or so where they were playing some really good football, winning 2 games in a row and taking the Chiefs, Buccaneers, and Eagles to the brink. But all that was undone after being pantsed by the Cowboys and their defense at home last week. They're out of the playoffs, but I don't think that's going to stop them from playing hard to close out the season. But Arizona, like I said last week, just take care of business against an inferior opponent, and you ain't got none to worry about. Give me the Cardinals winning this one on the road. Then we have an NFC North matchup with the Lions taking on the Bears. I'm positive the Lions are going to want to bounce back after that game against the Bills last week. I don't think the Bears even showed up against the Vikings on Monday. Give me Detroit winning 52-9. Then we have another AFC North matchup with the Browns taking on the Bengals. Well, the Browns are going to be rolling out DTR at quarterback. Great, I guess. Maybe he'll do something against this terrible Bengals defense. But let Joe and Jamar cook, and they're at home. Give me the Bengals. Then we got the Titans taking on the Colts. You know, as vastly different as their records are, they're both as equally bad. But Tennessee, I don't know, like it's hard, it's tough. You really don't have that bad of a roster. But sadly, it might be time to move on from Will Levis. You'll have good draft position to take a quarterback next year, but if Brian Callahan wants to keep his job long term, he's going to need to try to run this team with a different quarterback. That probably also isn't Mason Rudolph. But the Colts, I mean, they're mid. They have a faint playoff chance. Whatever, give me Indy winning this one. Then we got the Rams taking on the Jets. Now let me take you back to 2020, which coincidentally also happened 2 weeks before the season finale. The Rams went into the game leading their division, tied with Seattle. The Jets went in, not only sitting at 0-13, but of course eliminated from the playoffs. With one team with everything on the line, taking on a team with nothing to lose, the Jets won this game 23-20. The Rams did end up losing the division to the Seahawks, which honestly didn't matter because the Rams won in Seattle in the wildcard round. While the Jets ended up having to take Zach Wilson instead of Trevor Lawrence. I mean, those weren't the best options, but it definitely would have helped save the mess you're in now. This time around, I don't see history repeating itself, but this is going to be a battle of the 2 old head quarterbacks that we've seen duke it out in the NFC North for over a decade. I think the Rams are really playing for something bigger. Give me LA winning this one and taking care of business off of extra rest. Then we have an NFC East matchup with the Eagles taking on Washington. Now, the Eagles won this game last time pretty convincingly. I think as impressive Washington has been this season, they're still not on the same caliber as any of these contenders. So give me the Eagles getting the sweep this season and lock up the NFC East. Then to open up our late window, we got the Vikings taking on the Seahawks. All right. Well, hold on, wait. I was about to say that this game should be good, but I also thought the Seahawks playing against the Packers last week would be a good game. But Seattle doesn't have a choice but to keep going. They're getting dangerously close to falling out of the playoff race, and they gotta at least hope that Geno Smith is okay. But taking on this Vikings team that is actually starting to look a lot more dangerous the closer we get to the playoffs, I mean, give me Minnesota winning this one. Then we're gonna have the 49ers taking on the Dolphins. Ah, well, I wasn't in the mood for toilet bowls this week, so hopefully this makes up for it.
Ow.
Yeah, in case it wasn't obvious, these teams have been at all-out war with injuries this season. Miami, however, still has a very minimal shot at the playoffs, while the 49ers, it's practically over for the season and for most of the players and the staff. But in a way, it's kind of an elimination game. If you lose, you're done. And even if you win, you might still be done. I guess this would be a good game to see who's really the fraud between Brock Purdy and Tua. But home field advantage, San Fran's not that good of a team this year. Give me the Dolphins winning this one. Then staying in the AFC East, we got the Patriots taking on the Bills. After back-to-back high-scoring games on the road, the lowly Patriots coming to Buffalo could potentially wind up being a letdown spot. Nah, not likely. The Bills eviscerate the Patriots. Then we got the Jags taking on the Raiders. Certified toilet bowl. I am not doing a whole segment about this matchup. They're both absolute dog water, but the Raiders are committed to the tank. Give me the Jags winning this one. Then on Sunday Night Football, we got the Bucks taking on the Cowboys. This game has changed complexities over the course of the season. The Bucks are trying to win their 4th consecutive division title, and the Cowboys are, for some reason, still trying to make the playoffs. If Dak was playing, I think this game could still go either way, just more in Dallas's favor. But without him, I'm not sure if Cooper Rush is going to be able to keep up with the high-flying Buccaneers offense, who did just drop 40 on the #1 defense last week, and are the only team that's not Detroit to score more than 50 in a game this season. Now, hopefully the defense does mitigate that a little bit, especially considering that they give up the most points at home, but I don't know. I usually haven't expected the Cowboys to really be competitive this season, yet they've proved me wrong every time. I'm still going to go with the Bucks in this one, but if nothing else, please just let it be a good game. Then to wrap up the week on Monday Night Football, we got the Saints taking on the Packers, or as I like to call it, the Wheezy Bowl. Lil Wayne roots for the Packers, but his heart's in New Orleans. Just take this as me manifesting a guest surprise appearance at the Super Bowl from Lil Wayne. But that's really all I got. The Saints are pretty bad, and the Packers have shown that even though they're not at the tippity top as far as contenders go, they're not that far behind them. So give me the Packers demolishing the Saints in this game. Or worst case scenario, they only win by 6 points, 7 points, 8 points?
Yeah, word to my mama, I'm out of my llama bean.
And that's going to do it for week 16. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And we're going to have playoffs in a couple of weeks, so be sure you're locked in for that. I will be releasing a separate video next week for my Christmas Day picks, so expect that video on Christmas Eve. But y'all stay safe and keep it trill.